hot. It's getting hot out there, to the point where I think some less motivated lifters, some less, I don't like to say the word discipline as much. It doesn't, like, it's not my thing to, like, I don't think about myself and think, oh, I got all this discipline. Like, it's just not a word I resonate with. But I can definitely understand the logic of having something get in the way of working out. Guess what happened this week? Everybody's in school. A pretty large demographic of people in gyms. Honestly, I'd say, at least lately, it's got to be 50-50 of 18-year-olds and above and 18-year-olds and below. The gym is going more than mainstream in the younger age demographic brackets, which is sweet. That's what I want to see. More memberships, more gyms, fancier machines. And by fancier, I don't mean more complicated. I just mean cooler. The more the merrier. There's really no other phrase to describe it than that. But school started. So now, instead of summertime being, you basically got free range. Even if you had when I was a kid, this is before I was doing really working out much yet. I was still just doing like gymnastics and stuff. Actually, was I? This might have been like a little bit of an overlap time period. Before I was really working out, I worked at the Rock Wall at my local YMCA. But it was like 4-hour shifts, like every couple days. It was like nothing. That was just during the summertime, and then kind of sporadically throughout like different months. But you're pretty much going from all the time in the world. It's pretty easy to get motivated to work out. You've got a huge chunk of time to pull from, But now that school has started up, and still lifting at the same time, like 5, 4 o'clock, whatever, some of these gyms are a little more sparse, right? Everybody's getting they got new shit to do. And sometimes it's not like an actual correlation kind of thing of like kids are back, you're back in school and now you're going to skip the gym. Because a lot of these guys, if you've got a school sport, very different, and that's its own topic to get into. But as kind of just a blatant statement, I'd say probably don't quit your high school sport to work out more. But getting back to the to that, it's like when people start to get a little bit more of a full plate, things kind of get pushed off the edges, because we all need a certain amount of downtime, right? We all need a certain amount of like just being able to chill and do nothing. We're not here to freaking be on grinding the entire day, right? That's not the point, and that is definitely not the point, But when if you've got a certain chunk of responsibilities, where now instead of like you got this whole open window, throw, lift, and whatever, it's like you got, all right, I got from 4 to 6. Oh, it's already 4:15. I got legs today. It's already 4:30. Screw it. Right? That's classic. Oh man, it's you guys are all hanging out tonight. I'm just gonna go work out. Screw it. Screw chess today. Come on, I'm coming with you. Like little things like that. So I certainly see I understand the logic. Like I would never look at somebody skip a lift, skip their cardio, go off diet, and think and like be flabbergasted, like, oh, how could you do this? Like, no, it's not a lack of understanding, but it's I certainly can't connect with it because it's just a value system thing, and that's something that you really can't get around, no matter how strict you try to be or how boxed in you try to make your routine. At the end of the day, you're just going to get led by whatever your value system really puts an emphasis on. If you don't really value trying to, get significant gains and make in the gym progress, then the gym's not going to take precedent over anything else that you could be doing. So that's why I love talking about every kind of different angle about the working out that I can, because I'm almost just trying to freaking preach the benefits. Somebody who it doesn't really care about tracking their calories, if you worked out hard even like just 5 days a week, you could eat pretty much a little bit looser. You could throw some junk food in there and it wouldn't hit you as hard because you're at least going to use it for recovery for that activity. Like there's a reason why you're going to look at a kid who's eating a bunch of just total junk trash or like a bunch of sweets or whatever, and we're going to say, oh, he's got a high metabolism. Well, for one, it's obviously just because they're growing. That's a pretty big energy expenditure right there. But for anybody that really works out, dude, there is an angle of kind of being able to burn it off. And I'm not going to try to list off every benefit of working out in like 3 seconds, but they're there. So for me, if I put it down on paper in my mind, okay, what's more important to me right now? Getting a chest pump and sticking to my diet, or chilling all day and playing League of Legends, or insert your game of choice, right? I'm sure everyone has something that they've dumped a significant amount of time into for no real reward, and that's not a problem. It's not a problem to do stuff where you're just chilling out, but if you're not doing much where you're kind of progressing in a long-term sort of fashion, then that's where you could take two guys where one of them, on his weekend, he spent the entire day just doing nothing, playing games in his room. But if that guy went to the gym and worked out like he normally does, you're going to look at him very differently than the other guy who just sat in his room all day and did nothing, right? But didn't have that extra, angle of something. And isn't that kind of wild? Just 1 hour of activity could completely change your perception of how someone spent like a full day of free time. It's like, dude, what did you do yesterday? Oh, dude, I just played games on my computer all day. But then I had a crazy leg day afterward. It was nuts. I squatted 3 plates for 10. The first time ever. Like, that's the highlight. So even though it's just a smaller chunk of time out of the entire day, it's still something that's not really done, at least not by the majority, to the point where it can almost counteract that other 9 or however many hours of just kind of straight up chilling. And I think there's a good angle to working smart in that way. Because if you think about it, what's 2 hours a day? It's less than 10%, and that 10% can be incredibly valuable if you spend it doing something that you like and that you can actually kind of work for or work towards in kind of a greater sort of scale, But apart from that, looking at it like a fancy pants kind of way, I think we all know we just feel good after a good lift. But the reason I bring up just chilling was because I spent about 2.5 hours chilling a couple days ago. I watched The Departed for the first time. No spoilers, no nothing. Basically knew nothing about it except for seeing like a few clips that got shown to me on my feed. That was a good movie, right? Oh, that was a really good one. No need to get into any specifics if you haven't watched it. But The Departed on Netflix, you gotta look that up. That's a good one. Matt Damon, DiCaprio. Yeah, it's solid. But completely unrelated to that, semi-related. What was the one? What was the one Mark Wahlberg movie with The Rock and they're working out? I don't remember. But Mark's freaking working out every day. Everybody's seen his clips where he's rocking. Oh, I forget what that clothing brand is, but he's got it. He'll have it on head to toe, just hitting the freaking leg day. But no, plan for me tonight with arms is to go nuts. And right now that I'm no longer absolutely, filled to the gills with carbs, I'm going to be a bit more intentional with how the lifts go. Because when I'm bulking up, usually my mindset is, okay, I'm going to hit my triceps with complete 100% focus, thrash them, destroy them, and then move on to biceps afterward. Or vice versa. Bis first, tris after. But when I'm dieting and doing arms, partially because I want to, actually, no, not even partially, I want to finish an arm day with a full arm pump. That's a little bit of just a preference that I have. So when I'm bulking and I got a bunch of carbs in my system, if I hit all my biceps, or all my bicep sets, and then all my tricep sets, then at the end of the workout, my arms are still completely pumped. Because your pump's going to last much longer when you're full of carbs and fully hydrated and just, full. But when you're dieting down, I only had 120 grams of carbs so far today, actually 150. That's not going to cut it. That's not a full tank of carbs for me. If it takes you 16 gallons to get up to full, 150 grams of carbs for me right now is putting me at like a quarter tank. I'm already down like 9 pounds. It's not muscle per se, but just intramuscular and water and carbs and everything else like that, right? That's the difference from full Sam to more kind of flat carb depleted Sam. And it takes a toll. You're not going to be as pumped. Like if you could somehow microscopically measure, just somehow quantify my pumpedness, then dieted down, not so much. Like I might only get 70% of a pump that I'd be capable of when I'm full of carbs and everything else. So when I'm doing 2 muscle groups in one workout, it makes me a bit more inclined to do both of them together, kind of in tandem. So instead of doing all curls and then all push downs, doing a curl then a push down, curl then a push down. Either like supersetted, so there's no rest in between, or just a set of curls, rest, a set of push downs, rest, and going back and forth like that. Because my primary objective is not completely destroy my arms. It's, stimulate them enough and get a good pump so that when I leave, I'm going to maintain and hold on to the muscle I've already built and burn off the body fat that surrounds it. So I would never want to say that I want to drop the intensity of these workouts when I'm dieting down, but their volume and overall load usually does take a little bit of a hit. For me to be like a month ago, for me to do a heavy set of curls, the 80s were not unfathomable, right? A little bit of swing, like not like a super crazy slow controlled set, but like a solid set with the 80s, feasible. Right now, the 60s might feel the same. They might feel like they're just as heavy, just from having that kind of strength bump. But I'm going to do my best to get as pumped up as possible and keeping my hydration game up. That's also another angle to be considered. But no more talking. I think it's been already like 10 freaking minutes. Let's actually get in there and get started. All right, let's start with rope first, and then just do a cheeky back and forth. Rope curl, rope curl. I've already got the curl set up over here. A little bit different than normal, but it's just got a slightly different angle that I like. But we'll talk about that in a second. So instead, or more like first, not the whole stack, but 190. And that's as heavy as some stacks are, like fully loaded. So I'm extra spoiled with a heavy one. But this will just be holding and burning. That's the real emphasis. Not exactly wild heavy. Two. Okay. All right. Let's hit the curl and probably go back and forth 1 or 2 times and then pick a whole different set of movements. All right. Some long D-handle curls will suffice. And these are a little fancy because it's not just like a straight up loaded curl. Because my hands want to be close to each other because that's the nature of having 2 pulleys like that at once. So for me to get to the top and kind of squeeze in and up, I end up getting a lot of like this upper portion, It's not like it's a massive difference but enough that it's good to throw in. And then not too heavy. Those extensions were only 190. This curl is only 150, so nothing too wild. Okay. Ooh, all right. Actually, I think one more of each, and then I'll switch to a different set of movements. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Okay. All right, let's move on. Yeah, new set of movements. All right, yeah, this is sweet. Doing this kind of jumping over the top of this pullover to do pushdowns. And what I really like about it is it's not like a cable pushdown where I've got a cable in my freaking face and I got to either duck to the left or the right or lean back too much. Since it's just a bar, I can really get over top of it. But, you know, let's really burn this one out. And even though it's a stack, the leverages are very good, so I can really rep this. Okay. Whew. Whew. All right. Okay. Let's do some bicep bias pull downs, and then go back and forth. That felt super good today, though. Okay. Ooh, all right. I might do 2 more of these actually. Okay. Okay, back to pull downs. Oh, goodness. Okay. I think a superset finisher might actually be in order. All right, this will be good. A little back and forth, push down to curl. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good for today. All right, slightly more regular, just... What kind of light even is that? I don't know. That's on my to-do list. I got to get a guy to come in and install some freakier lights, because you really want it to be where no matter where you stand in the gym, there's just this really stark shadow coming straight down at you, so everywhere is like freaky. But I guess general warehouse lighting is a little more functional over aesthetic. And then I definitely need to freaking put an AC in there. I keep going to the office section just for relief, but still a very good lift. So let's see how we're looking. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's solid. Let's roll. All right, there appears to be a very common theme this current moment, and that's feeling low on gas. I'm currently at 1 mile range, but I know I really have more like 10 left, so I'm not really tweaking out about it. But no, today I was feeling a little bit extra light, in the sense of I'm probably gonna up my grub just a touch, because right now I do not want to just jump straight down to a real deep deficit. There's no need, so what I really want to do is ease into it gradually. So I'm almost having to eat more than I want to, just to make sure I don't totally crash my metabolism by dropping calories down to lower than necessary. Because in either case, bulking up or cutting down, the point is not just to have this insanely huge surplus for no reason, but have enough that you're actually making steady progress towards whatever that end goal is. But if you do it too far, well, then what are you doing? Right? You're kind of making extra sacrifices that are unnecessary towards whatever that goal is. If you eat a surplus here, let's say this is a sweet spot, 300-400 calories, whatever, you're gaining weight steadily, you're not getting too soft, you're good. But if you start eating this much extra and you're packing on tons of body fat, well, then what's the point, And I, not to put it bluntly, but there's a difference between, getting some body fat to put on in an off season or a bulk just due to the nature of being in a surplus versus packing on unnecessary fat. A 30-pound bulk, if 20 pounds of it was body fat, that's not a good ratio. There's a point to bulking responsibly, and dieting down as well. What's the point of? I guess I get the point. Drop your calories really quick, and then you have a quicker phase of dieting. And if you're just doing a quick, you can almost call it a mini cut per se, where it's just a few months to kind of sort of quickly drop off some body fat before trying to start an off season again, well, that's a little bit of a different story. But if you're trying to keep the weight off or get some body fat off and keep it off, then you're gonna have a bit better luck by kind of easing into it gradually, or else you're setting yourself up a little bit more for a potential rebound, so slow and steady always wins the race, that's for freaking sure. But plan now, go home, get some food, and tomorrow might be a rest day. tomorrow may end up being a rest day. Now, of course, not a complete rest day. I'm not going to stop doing my cardio. But given that tomorrow is going to be legs, I guess I'll see. You know, I never want to completely commit to a rest day the day before, because think about it. Right now, I just finished working out. I haven't eaten anything for like a couple hours. I'm a little tired. Mentally, I'm in a state where I'm probably going to lean towards like, okay, I feel kind of tired right now at this exact moment. It's like going to the grocery store hungry. You get a whole bunch of shit that you didn't even really want beforehand. You just wanted it right then, you know? So it's a situation of you're going to think a little differently the next day once you're rested, got a good night's sleep, drank some food, drank some water, got some food in your system, and you got a little bit more energy, right? It's you can't always trust how you feel in the moment to decide what's going to be best later on, you know, because working out, doing anything that's physically difficult to your brain, I mean, apart from probably a certain level that your brain kind of like treats as play, like that's a little bit different, but anything like highly strenuous, your brain's gonna say, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that. Ugh. Right? You want to chill. You want to just stay home, eat food, relax, stay alive. Right? That's all your brain's really telling you to do. So you're kind of fighting against your biological judgment when you say that you want to put hundreds of pounds on your back and squat it, or you know, you want to limit your calorie intake so you can get leaner. Right? For you, as a guy, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get leaner. I want to do this. For your brain, you know, on a more subconscious level, it's thinking, dude, holy crap, eat something. What is going on? You know? So that's, you're kind of, I mean, shit, man, you're fighting evolution at that point, you know? But I think as I mean, the freaking apex predator of the planet, I think we can handle it, right? We're tough enough to be able to say, I don't need to eat 4 Walmart blueberry muffins right now. That's not my goal. I don't need to crush 3 McDonald's chicken, what's like the McDonald's sandwich? I don't need to, it's not a Whopper. I don't need to crush 3 chicken Big Macs right now, right? I'm a responsible lifter, and that's not in line with what my goals are. And when we say it like that, it sounds a little bit more simple, you know, because it's like we're not actually in that situation, you know. We can all agree that if we're dieting, don't slam that bag of Skittles that you've got in the back of your pantry, right? Everybody would probably agree, yeah, don't do that. What are you doing? But if that's you, right, and you actually are in your last few hundred calories for the day, and you're feeling it, you're getting leaner, but you're still feeling it, you're hungry, dude, that bag may as well be glowing, right? Like straight out of Pulp Fiction as you open the door. Is anybody else going to eat this? I don't think so, right? There's only one person who's going to hold you accountable in a situation like that. You know, so that's where you got to kind of toughen up and not need any external validation, right? Because people are going to gas you up if you lose a ton of weight, or not even lose weight in the sense of like getting lighter, but just if you get lean, like people are going to notice. At least your buddies are, for sure. But nobody gives you a congratulations for winning those small battles when, you know, you don't just totally pig out when nobody's watching, you know. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. Like, I think I'm definitely going to have an easier time during this diet, which is going to kind of transfer into a prep later on, because now that I've gotten, you know, this lean before, and I've only been used to this lean, well, now this area is no longer uncharted territory, right? I've been there, you know. And it's not only like a physical change where once you've done something, it's easier to do it again. Like if for the next year, I completely stopped weight training, completely stopped cardio, everything, and just pulled like a Kevin Levrone, and I kind of shrunk back down to like, I mean, I don't know what I would look like in a year if I completely stopped training and like stopped eating enough food. But it would be a very quick rebound to try to really jump into it again, because I mean, you kind of have that muscle memory, you know? And it's not just a made-up sort of thing. Like, as you grow and get bigger, it's not as though your muscles remember how to grow. It's more like they're physiologically different. You know, you've got all sorts of new, they call it myonuclei. I think that's the gist, where the muscles you have get bigger, but then you also develop new cells just, you know, in the process of growing. So it's like if this is somebody's bicep with 3 fibers like this, once they start working out for long enough, not only will these fibers get bigger, but they'll also develop more of them. So when you shrink down and you stop working out or whatever, sure, you might get back to that regular size, but now you got 5 of these fibers instead of just the 3, you know? So when you fill them back up, and you're right there. But it's also just this kind of mental gratification or clarification? I don't know. Just this mental block that's now hurdled because you know it's possible, right? Like uncharted territory, things you've never done before, that's kind of iffy, right? You got no, you know, people might tell you you got it, but you never really know. You've never done it, right? There's no proof. There's no track record, right? You're flying blind. But as soon as you do it, oh shit, I got it. Nice, right? And then you've got to try your best to get in that situation again, where, all right, you're setting yourself up for a goal that's now in even more uncharted territory, and you got to get that kind of feeling again, where it's like, ooh, all right, I've never done this before, and then just kind of jump in with both feet, right? Don't wuss out. So even if it's something like dieting that's kind of long and slow, there's no moment where you like lose 20 pounds all at once. That's something where you just kind of understand the game and you know, don't get too upset by it, right? It's very easy to say I want to be leaner. It's not as easy to say that and deal with everything that goes along with it for months, depending on the guy, sometimes years on end. But I'm kind of just, you know, talking out of my ass a little bit because I've never had to lose 200 pounds. But from my experience, everybody who I've ever seen at expos or different gyms when I'm traveling around, even guys at my gyms locally, when I see and get to talk to them about how they've lost, you know, I was talking to one guy 2 days ago, down 250. He showed me a picture. At his peak, he said he was 580. And now he's down to, I guess it would be 330-ish. But still, 250 pounds. What a fucking beast, you know? So, I mean, it's not that I've done it, but from what I can tell, everybody who has always looks back and thinks, man, I'm glad I did it, right? I don't think anybody who is ever in, you know, the upper, I mean, even 300 pounds or above, who got down to a much leaner state is ever going to think, not sure it was worth it, right? That's a situation that I have never seen happen. But I'm going to fill up the tank, go home and fill up my own tank, and then we can get ready for tomorrow and whatever it brings. Either legs, or I'll just tag you along for cardio and I'll throw some abs in. I'm not really one to do abs when I'm bulking, but dieting down, I do throw them in, right? Just, we can talk about abs tomorrow. I've got a few things to say about it. But a good lift, and I'll see you then.